Mukam karoti vachalam bhangam langayate girim yakibantam ham vande sigurum dinatarinam. Om jnanati mirandasya gyananjara sharakaya chakshumiritam yena tasai Shri Gurave Namaha. So after hearing chapter 10, Krishna's description of his opulence, we may question, what is the proof that Krishna possesses the Himalayas, the Ganges, the ocean, etc.? Arjuna will satisfy our doubts by asking Krishna to show him all these opulence, proving Krishna is God. Krishna will then give Arjuna divine eyes, so he may see everything he desires. So the first part is the first 8 verses, and in the first 8 verses, this section, Arjuna requests Krishna to show his universal form, and Krishna gives a very brief description of it. So Arjuna, of course, acknowledges the two-armed form of Krishna is supreme, but he wants to see this all-pervading form that Krishna has previously spoken of. So I'm going to read verse 3. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, and this is near the end of the purport, Krishna also understands Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion for in the future. There will be so many impostors who will pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people therefore should be careful. This is in the purport. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people. And so in a lecture, Prabhupada said there are so many rascal gods. They're becoming old. How God never becomes old. You see Krishna, he was 125, but he looked like 16, 20. And so why they're becoming older? And also they're getting toothaches and going to the dentist. And so Krishna is not that kind of God. And so now in verse 6, Krishna says, see the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasas, Rudras. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before. Actually, Krishna did show his universal form to Duryodhana when he went as a messenger. Because when Krishna came as a messenger from Yudhisthira to try to stop the war, mediation, he was a mediator, Duryodhana said, okay, he had a plan. They wanted to tie Krishna up with ropes and put him in prison just before he was going to leave. So when they were trying to do that, Krishna showed a universal form, part of it, not the whole thing. And he expanded himself and they couldn't tie him up. And they were so frightened, but Krishna was laughing. And so when else did he show it? He showed it to Yashoda when she saw the universal form in the mouth of Krishna. And so now we're going to hear Sanjaya's description, brief description, from verses 9 to 15 of the universal form and Arjuna's reaction. We're going to see in this chapter that Arjuna is going to have different changing emotions, different feelings towards Krishna and the universal form. So first, Krishna is going to give Arjuna the necessary vision, and then Sanjaya is going to describe how Arjuna, seeing Krishna's universal form, expand into many thousands, although situated in one place. So we'll read verse 13. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. So just imagine, I mean, there's so many channels of TV now, maybe 50 channels. Just imagine if you could put them all on at once and watch all of them at the same time. Arjuna was seeing like that, all the different planets, everything, what's going on at the same time. That was beyond our imagination. So how did he react? Verse 14, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. So Sanjay is still describing, and Prabhupada in the purport, he says, once the divine vision is revealed, the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna changes immediately. So he's no longer Krishna's friend, not the disciple. It's all wiped out. And Prabhupada says, before Krishna and Arjuna had a relationship based on friendship. But here, after the revelation, Arjuna is offering obeisances with great respect. And with folded hands, he's praying to Krishna. He's praising universal form. Thus Arjuna's relationship becomes one of wonder rather than friendship. So adbhuta. Now we are having one of the indirect rasas, wonder. He's also bewildered too. So this is the first emotion of many that Arjuna is going to be feeling during this chapter. And we don't get that so much the rest of the chapters of Gita, but here we see what Arjuna is going through when he sees the universal form. So verse 15, Arjuna said, my dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents. So now he's seeing what he heard about. He's starting to get the vision of the universal form. So we'll read verse 16 through 19, because now this section is the prayers of Arjuna, and this goes up through verse 31. From verse 15 up through 31. These are going to be prayers of Arjuna, and he's going to end his prayers with two questions. So we'll hear some of these prayers, and in these prayers we'll see what Arjuna is going through also. So verse 16, O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning. Then 17, your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence spreading on all sides, like blazing fire, or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs. Text 18. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. So now he's seeing Krishna as the supreme person. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. So that's a big change. He didn't see him as God before. Now he's seeing Krishna as God. You are without origin, verse 19, middle or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. So when we see these aspects of universal form, we should know all of them originate from Krishna. So when we hear Krishna's pastimes in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, it won't be surprising for us to hear such things. Like, for example, in 19th chapter of Canto 10, the cowherd boys were surrounded by a forest fire. And they took shelter of Krishna. And Krishna said to them, just close your eyes and don't be afraid. All right, the boys said, and they closed their eyes. So then Krishna opened his mouth and swallowed the terrible fire, saving his friends from danger. So we see if fire can come out of the mouth of universal form, it can go back in also. So Krishna, he took the fire in instead of taking it out. Like now the fire is coming out. So yes, then we'll understand, oh yeah, no problem for Krishna. The fire is already there. And Agni resides in the mouth of universal form. So fire is living in the mouth. Yes. So we'll go to verse 21. All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, crying, all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. So here we have the reaction of the demigods. They're afraid, and they're saying, Pahi, Pahi, please protect us, please protect us. And the sages are trying, Shanti, Shanti, Swasti, Swasti, Shanti, Shanti. Let there be peace. And they're trying to, like when we have a problem, we chant Hare Krishna or Nishinga's mantra. So the sages are just saying, peace, peace, Shanti. Prahlad Maharaj, in one of his prayers in the 5th canto, 18th chapter, he says, let there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti-yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. So now there's no peace. People are thinking of themselves, and others are becoming harmed. So we were seeing, Arjuna is seeing now this form of, this devastating form. Verse 23, O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I. So now Arjuna is changing from wonder, he's getting disturbed. And he's seeing the fear of the demigods, so he's also getting afraid. His rasa is changing from adbhuta to bhaya, fear. Yes, this is his emotion. And 24, he has another feeling, all pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouth, your great glowing eyes. My mind is perturbed by fear. Yes, it's fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind. So Arjuna was pretty steady, but here he's losing it. And 25, O Lord of Lords, refuge of the world, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered. So now he's even losing his sense of direction. He's completely he's lost himself, really. It's too much. He's really bewildered. It's like too much for him. So then in verses 28 and 29, of course, 26, 27, he sees Dhritarashtra, the sons of Dhritarashtra and Bhishma, Jonah, Karna, trapped in their heads smashed between the teeth. Now, we use our toothpicks to get the food out. He's got heads between the teeth. As the many waves of the rivers, now we're going to hear two analogies, 28 and 29, two different analogies. As the many waves of the rivers flow into the ocean, so do all these great warriors enter blazing into your mouth. That's verse 28, like rivers flow into the ocean. And verse 29, I see all people rushing full speed into your mouths as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. So, two different analogies are used here. As the waves of rivers flow in the ocean, and as the warriors enter into your mouths, like moths enter the fire. So there's actually a difference between these two analogies. The rivers flowing in the ocean, they go in an unconscious way. They just flow right in. So this is like Bhishma and Drona. They lose their material qualities and go back to Godhead, to Krishna's abode, even though they entered in his mouth. Thank you. So Bhishma and Drona, they're going like rivers into the ocean of the universe. They're going just straight back to Godhead. But the moths entering the fire, they're like Duryodhana. They're consciously going towards the fire. So that's the verse 29. And Srila Prabhupada said, these great leaders, they're consciously going to the fire. And they'll be killed just like insects and flies. If you live in India, sometimes the lights go out and you put candles on, and the bugs they make a sound, and Prabhupada makes that sound, fut, 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 and when they go into the fire. So how to stop this? They're attracted by the beauty of the material world. So in Canto 2, we hear another description of universal form, where we see the smile of the universal form is Maya. And behind the smile are the teeth. And you're attracted by the smile, but then you get chewed by the teeth. So that's the story of this material world. So Prabhupada was on a morning walk with Dr. Patel in Juhu Beach. And Prabhupada said to Dr. Patel, doctors will also enter. Not only the patient, the doctors will also go into the universal form. Don't think doctors will be excused. That was Dr. Patel. So I lived in Mayapur also, not for a short time. And during monsoon time, there were these lights on at night, and millions of insects would go to the lights. And then in the daytime, there were huge piles that would have to be cleaned up in the morning. So Srila Prabhupada talks about that. Their life is just one night, and they're struggling to enjoy whole night. They want to enjoy the light, the lamp. In the morning, they're all dead. So that's our principle is the same for us. The whole life we're trying to enjoy, and then we're dead. So night means ignorance. We're in ignorance, we're in darkness, and we're finished. So again, he gives the example of the Hindu-Muslim riot in Calcutta, that they were fighting, and then in the morning there were heaps of dead bodies, and you couldn't tell who's Hindu and who's Muslim. They were all mixed together. So now Arjuna has finished his prayers, and he has two questions. Who are you, and what is your mission? Verse 31, O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisance unto you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is. So Krishna answers, Kala smiloka kshayakrit pravritta lokan samahartumiha pravritta idepitam na bhavishanti sarve yevastita pratyanikeshyoda. Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, Pandavas, all the soldiers here and both sides will be slain. So it's not like our Lord Krishna asking for a little fruit and water. Purport, Prabhupada says, eventually all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a meal by the Supreme. Yes, we are just a snack for the universal form. So now in the next verses, Krishna discloses his mission to Arjuna and requests Arjuna to play a leading part in his mission. So we should listen carefully, because Krishna is speaking not only to Arjuna, but to all who may follow him in the future. So this is for us. And we're going to learn some lessons now. The first lesson is that Krishna's devotees act as his instruments to fulfill his mission of bringing all living entities to the spiritual world. So Gita at the end, it says, Sarvadharma Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, that abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender to me. So how do the devotees, what do they do when they surrender? Then they become the instrument of Krishna. So that's verse 33, a very famous verse also in this chapter. Tasmat tamutishta labasva jidva shatram vangsharajam samritam mayaivatini hata purvameva nimittamatram bhavasa vyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So this is surrender, as Krishna will explain at the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. This is how to surrender, become Krishna's instrument. So in the 4th canto, it's described a little bit. The Lord descended at the request of Brahma to kill all the undesirables, but to divide the share of glory, he sometimes engaged his devotees to take the credit. Why should we be instrument? Because Krishna wants us to get the credit. If we don't surrender, if we don't volunteer, someone else it will be done. Prophecy is there. The movement will spread all over the world. But if we should become the instrument so we can get the credit also. And here, just to give, Prabhupada says, the Battle of Kurukshetra was designed by the Lord himself, but just to give credit to his devotee Arjuna, he played the part of the charioteer, while Arjuna was given the chance to play the fighter and thus become the hero of the Battle of Kurukshetra. What he wants to do himself, by his transcendental plans, he executes through his confidential devotees. That is the way of the Lord's mercy towards his pure and alloyed devotees. And so then Prabhupada talks about when Krishna was here in Gokula, he was not pleasing to the demons, but the 6 Goswamis were pleasing to the demons, even when they were here. So that's the beauty of the Lord's dealings. The devotee is more than the Lord, more merciful. And again, Prabhupada says about Lord Chaitanya, the credit goes, everything is happening according to predictions of Lord Chaitanya, but credit goes to his sincere servants. So on morning walk, here in Vrindavan, one devotee was telling Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya preached all over India, but it seems he left it for you to preach all over the world. And Prabhupada said, yes, and for you. So yeah, we have to be the instrument. So you may wonder, okay, we're hearing about these warriors getting killed between the teeth. What happened to them? Bhagavatam 3rd canto says that they were purified by Arjuna's arrows, and they saw the lotus face of Krishna on the battlefield, and they went back to Godhead. Because they got the association of a pure devotee from Arjuna. His arrows were purifying them. They got purified, and then they could feel a little attraction for Krishna, seeing him at the battlefield, and then they went back to Godhead. So we should follow Krishna's plan. Krishna has a plan. 34, we hear the names of all the great warriors. They're already put to death, been destroyed by me. So kill them, don't be disturbed, simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle. So Prabhupada talks about the plan of Krishna in the purport. He's so kind and merciful to his devotees, he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan according to his desire. Life should therefore move in such a way everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands supreme personality of God through the medium of a spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Lord are understood by his mercy, and the plans of devotees are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. So Krishna has a plan for all of us. You have to find out what is that plan. Now the next section, Arjuna is praying again. Arjuna's prayer is from verse 35 to 46. And his first thing he says is that the demons, when they hear the holy name, they run here and there. And but everyone else becomes attached to you. And although the perfected beings offer you, this verse 36, their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. So sometimes on Harinam, you may see this. Some people walk by putting their hands on their ears. Some go away. They go the opposite side of the street. They're running away from the holy name. But the devotees are becoming happy and ecstatic. And pious people also, they join in the dancing and become ecstatic. So then, now Arjuna is praying more. Now he's remembering Krishna, his relationship with Krishna in verses 41 and 42. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you. Oh Krishna, oh Yadava, oh my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relax, lay in the same bed, or sat or ate together. sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses. So yeah, now because he's seeing the universal form, it's getting in the way of his friendship. So knowing the opulence of God sometimes gets in the way of our loving reciprocation. So opulence kind of creates distance. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says that. He explains it. He says, all the universe is filled with the conception of my majesty, but love weakened by that sense of majesty does not satisfy me. If one has pure devotion, thinking me as his son, friend, or beloved, regarding himself as great, and considering me his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. If my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. So out of forgetfulness, Arjuna felt he committed an offense. Srila Prabhupada also felt like that with Bhaktisiddhanta one time. The first time he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was sitting on the same seat as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. I didn't know I was making an offense when I was a new Bhaktin. Then I had read all the books there. They had Nectar of Devotion was one of them. And Nectar of Devotion said, the dust of the feet of the pure devotee is the most wonderful thing. So I was dusting the Vyasa-san and putting the dust on Sasvarup Prabhu. And the devotee said, why are you putting the dust? I thought, oh. I thought it was good for him. That was really good. So, anyway, you have to be careful. So verse 43, now he's back to his opulent relationship. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and the non-moving. You are its worshipful chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? So in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the impersonalists. Here it is said, no one can become one with Krishna. Foolish persons think they are equal to Krishna. This is in paragraph 2. It is explained in Bhagavatam, what is their relationship with Krishna? In second canto, it talks about the impersonalists. They have a place on the form of the Lord. And guess what? Guess where they are? They are on the back. Because if you turn your back on someone, that's impersonal. So the impersonalists are in the back of the universal form. Because Krishna is the original feature, and his impersonal emanation is a reflection. So Prabhupada says, those who are fortunate enough to have a view of the Lord from the front can realize his personal feature, whereas those who are frustrated and kept on the ignorant side of the Lord, those who have the view of the Lord from the back, realize him in his impersonal feature. So we should stay in the front face the Lord, go and see Krishna in the temple. So we're going to read 44. You are the Supreme Lord to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your, I have it here, mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, our friend tolerates the impertinence of a friend, our wife tolerates familiarity of her partner, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done to you. So here's a whole nother change. His fear is changing to something else. And we'll learn more about it in verse 45. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened. But at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. So it's fear again, but it's a different kind of fear this time. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. So in the lecture, Prabhupada explains why Arjuna was afraid, the first kind of fear. Prabhupada said there's no question of loving the Virat Rupa. We can't have love for this form of Krishna. If Krishna comes before you in the form of Virat Rupa, you'll be so filled with fear, you'll forget your love. So don't be eager like the impersonalists to see the Virat Rupa form. Just render loving service to Shyamasundar Krishna. So Prabhupada said, I have seen the universal form during wartime. 1942, there was a siren. We ran into a shelter and the bombing began. So we were seeing, of course, and I was thinking, of course, this is just another form of Krishna, but it's not a very lovable form. And so if the war comes, you can see. Devotee wants to love Krishna in his original form, so Vishwarupa is not the original form. His lovable form is Shyamasundar. So in a lecture again, Prabhupada said that if your father may be a police officer, but if he comes home shooting his gun, you're going to be afraid. And we know Vishwarupa is Krishna, but if we see what he looks like as Vishwarupa, we'll be afraid. So the child loves his father when he's at home. So we like Krishna at home in Goloka Vrindavan, Shyamasundar. Now the purport explains what kind of fear Arjuna is feeling from the last two verses. Purport says, Arjuna is always in confidence with Krishna because he's a very dear friend. And as a dear friend is gladdened by his friend's opulence, Arjuna is very joyful to see his friend Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can show such a wonderful universal form. But at the same time, after seeing that universal form, he's afraid he has committed so many offenses to Krishna out of his unalloyed friendship. Thus his mind is disturbed out of fear, although he has no reason to fear. So this is the second kind of fear, that he was afraid he made an offense. Different kind of fear. So the last part of this chapter, verses 47 to 55, what happens here, Krishna withdraws his universal form, then he shows Arjuna his four-arm form, and finally his two-arm form. So two lessons we're going to learn in this last section. The first lesson is Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead, origin of both Narayan and universal form. Second lesson, pure devotional service means to work for Krishna, making him the goal of life without desire for material enjoyment or liberation. So, 51, we'll go to verse 51. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardhan, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I'm now composed in mind, and I'm restored to my original nature. So now Arjuna is back to himself. He lost himself for a while there, but now he's back to normal. He's back to normal. Somyam, very beautiful human-like form. So only this form could pacify Arjuna. So verse 53, the form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penance, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service, this is verse 54, can I be understood as I am standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So how can we be qualified to see Krishna? And the last verse Prabhupada is going to give us, well, Krishna gives us a concise formula, and Prabhupada is also going to give a formula, his formula at the end of the chapter. So, verse 55, last verse. Mat karma krin mat paramo mat bhakta sanghavarjita nirvaira sarabhuteshu yasamam eti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So this is also pointing to the verse Sarvadharma Paritaja, that you should, well, actually the one before Sarvadharma Paritaja, think of me, become my devotee, and then that's how to surrender again. So my karma krin, doing my work. We all have some work to do. So our service, when we do our service in the temple, we can be conscious who we're working for. It's for Krishna. Meditate on pleasing Krishna. Mat parama, considering me the supreme. We have so many goals, but actually Krishna is the goal, love of Krishna. Bhakta, engaged in devotional service. If you can't do anything, at least chant Hare Krishna. Sangha Varjita, free from contamination, a fruit of activities and mental speculation. So avoid bad association. Here, the internet is very good here in Vrindavan, and you can get into bad association very easily. Things just pop up when you're innocently seeing your friends on Facebook. Nirvaira Sarabhuteshu, friendly to all living entities. So try to give Krishna to people who don't have it. And if you follow this formula, always work for me, become my devotee, and see, the goal should be me, and avoid bad association, be friendly to all living entities. What should happen? Yasamameti Pandava. He certainly comes to me. So Prabhupada, I'm going to read from the purport. Prabhupada's conclusion, the last paragraph. Prabhupada's conclusion. In summary, the universal form is, and it's actually, again, this is, I'm supposed to give a summary of this chapter. Here's the summary by Prabhupada. In summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation, and the form of time which devours everything, and even the form of Vishnu four-handed, have all been exhibited by Krishna. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Vishwarupa or Vishnu. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important but the original form, two-handed Shyamasundar. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated, those who are attached to Shyamasundar form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. One should therefore understand the purport of this 11th chapter is the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. So remember the 3 lessons we learned from this chapter. First, Krishna's devotees act as his instruments to fulfill his mission of bringing all living entities to the spiritual world. Second, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, origin of both Narayan and universal form. And third, pure devotional service means to work for Krishna, making him the goal of life without desire for material enjoyment or liberation. Hare Krishna.